How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm
I
cool.
still
I'm
have
cool. I'm,
some.
I'm actually okay. Yeah, there we go. There we go. The connection is finally stable.
Oh,
I
okay.
I can see you're already drinking water, which means you're trying to take in. Oh, it's wine. You're trying to take in the extension. How are you
Yeah.
feeling?
No, I'm feeling good. I'm not anxious at all, and I think a lot of people are. And
Yeah,
but I can understand why people feel anxious and quite frankly downcast because it's
yeah,
like the president said, a lot is being asked of people. But
yeah,
I think if we accept that what we're doing is for the greater good, then
yeah,
I do feel that people will feel they should be able to just take this forward
yeah.
and take it on the chin.
It's crazy because it's kind of like created an entire like societal shift, and you can already feel, but things are not going to be the same like anymore. One,
Not at
what
all.
already is like shooting. Yeah, other than the fact that like I mean I had a very similar situation 2 days ago, né?
Mm,
Where because I work for the SABC, luckily
mm,
I'm kind of considered as essential services, so there's times where I'm able to move around to collect data and so forth.
mm.
And the other day I went to the store, and now I'm Puma, same thing. Someone's obviously begging for money, and now like the whole system has changed in terms of how you can like add value or help someone else out. Already for when I'm almost sure, other than that, there's a couple of other things that are shooting out at you already that you're going, yes, this is not going to be the same anymore.
Oh, it's not gonna be the same.
Yeah,
I think number one, I think a lot of people will realize that they can actually work from home, and I
yeah,
do think that that whole thing where people side eye you for working from home. I think it's going to become the norm now for
yeah,
certain roles, but I don't think that it's going to be everybody's going to be able to do that. And I feel that for senior executives, it
yeah,
might be easier for them to work from home because as a
yeah,
senior exec, what a large part of what you do is strategic. So you're
yeah,
thinking bigger picture, and then you
yeah,
kind of issuing instructions. And I
yeah,
think that kind of thing is good. But I don't know, maybe as you go lower down. But I think once you get out the office, a lot more people will want to go to work.
yeah.
They want
Because
to work
yeah,
in the office, because they've been stuck at home and all kinds of different places. And just
yeah.
we will be happy for human contact.
The thing that I want to find out from you is, I think a question that's going to force all of us to start asking after this is done is how you
Hmm.
are doing, you know?
Mm. Oh, geez, for me, I think I've been pretty okay. I've been pretty fine, and I don't know if it's because I needed the time out. I am not struggling. I think like a lot of people, or
Mm.
maybe some people. I don't have that struggle. I'm pretty okay. I'm having a good time by myself, but it's also because I think I have a lot of people to talk to. So I'm talking to people on the phone,
Yeah,
and a lot of like FaceTime calls or WhatsApp calls, and I don't really. The only calls that maybe I might have that are not like face to face is because if I don't know the
yeah,
person and they've called me and all of that. But generally, if I know you, I am going to do a WhatsApp video call or I will do a FaceTime call because it kind of makes you feel less disconnected, you know.
yeah, yeah.
I ndayibona umntu intshebe yakhe xa ingachejwa, ndayibona imane ikhula, you know what I'm saying? I can see all of those
Yeah,
things. So for me, it's I've been pretty okay, and I also think also for me when my because my as you know my brother passed away like a few weeks ago. It's actually been less than a month,
yeah,
and I feel that this time alone was necessary. This
yeah,
time being here, just to kind of reflect. But also, what is interesting is that because there's been so much Corona stuff, and I've also been so obsessed with it, I've been able
yeah,
to make sure that my mind is not just caught up on that.
I can't imagine how it must be to, especially with the relationship that I know that you had with your brother, to lose your brother. It's such a crazy time. And then the moment that you have to, never mind going through the grief of that and still going through the grief of that and having to be strong for your family, for his friends. What I know now, there's actually a restriction on how many people can come and show love to him, you know. Suddenly you're having to have a memorial for your own brother via the internet. I know it's a deep place to dig in, but please share with us like how that made you feel and how you're feeling about that.
You know, but obviously it was very interesting because what happens immediately, you know, I think, so I asked myself, did I make the right call? So you start asking yourself questions because obviously he's lived in Joburg, in East London, and Cape Town, and he was living in Cape Town with me now. But it also made a life for himself in Joburg, and he has a life in East London. So the question I had to ask was it the right thing for me to have the memorial service done in Cape Town, or should I have been in Joburg? Or, you know what I'm saying? It's like those. I had a lot of that happening, playing around my mind.
Now, you've always kind of had to adapt, you know. I want to kind of spend some time understanding that what part of your spirit is it that unlocks that, you know? Because I'd like to believe that, especially with times like this, with the announcement that the president just made now, a lot of people are going to be feeling a lot of anxiety. Oh, shucks, another 21 days. People are worried about the money. People are worried about a number of things during this time. You've had to face a lot of strife, you know? I'd like to have an understanding of what is it that gets you through the tough times, you know?
Okay, what gets me through the tough times? What I always think happens, I think it is a lack of information. And when I say lack of information is, so what causes people to be anxiety is when you don't know.
Mm. Yeah.
And when you feel a great sense of uncertainty. But I
Yeah.
think when you have a very good sense of, okay, when you have information and that
Yeah.
information talks to, and it tells you that, okay, we are going to be locked down. For example, I had a sense that we will be locked down for longer than we will be.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I'm prepared for it.
Yeah.
I'm okay if we're going to be locked down for longer because I was already prepared. And you know, there's a thing that I read about a samurai. It's an amazing thing that what the samurai, how they train is that they train
Yeah.
for the worst possible scenario. So
Yes.
they train for the worst possible outcome so that when
Yeah.
that outcome actually comes, they're ready for it and they're prepared. They're not shocked. They don't choke under the conditions and they're able
Yeah.
to overcome the particular situation.
The interesting bit with trying to get through something like this is what a lot of people are going to struggle with is the spiritual side of things, you know. The thing that I've picked up a lot of from your side is that you are a lover of scripture, you're a lover of literature, and the same way that you're saying that there's much information as you're trying to gather. How much of a role is that playing for you right now?
Oh, I think I think that's a very good point, and I, I think because you're right, I'm such a spiritual person, and I know I may not look like I am in most cases, you know. You know, it's so fun. I'll never forget. It was around Easter. It's so funny. Around
Yeah.
this time, I was interviewed, but I was at some event years ago in Joburg, and I don't know if you remember Denise
Zimba,
Mzimba,
yeah, Zimba,
Zimba,
yeah,
yes, Zimba. So
yeah,
she's wearing this bunny outfit, and she comes to me and
yeah,
like out of nowhere, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell? And then she says, do you or are you a Christian? And I'm
yeah.
like, yes, but a naughty one, right? And then she says, and then she says, what did she say? Oh, am I going to lay eggs? Are you going to lay eggs? That's what she says.
Yeah.
And then I say, because it's Easter, I can, as a Easter bunny with the eggs. And then I said, well, I am as I'm a male, therefore I'm not a cock. A cock doesn't lay eggs, so I'm not gonna lay eggs. So it does a pretty it does a funny. I think it does, and then immediately after that, I quoted scripture to her. So
Yeah,
it was almost like demonstrating the fact that okay, yes, it's true. I am a Christian, but I'm a naughty one. So,
yeah,
and I think for me, I find that I need to connect constantly. God, I understand my scripture, and the scriptures that always connect with me the most are the ones that they talk about things are bad and
yeah,
then things are good, right? So things
yeah,
go badly for you. It's not the end of the world. Actually, it's building you, it's character building, so that you come out stronger and better at the end of it.
at this point in time, you're gonna need a lot of support. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sometimes when you're in this space, you're either gonna have, like you mentioned, a great support space or support base of people, or you're not. Yeah. In your case, when you look at social media and so forth, you've got a great group of friends, right?
Hmm.
And a great network as a result of all the work that you've put in, people that we might not know.
Mm.
How do you then go? How do one first build up a network of people like that? Because I know a lot of people right now are going to be starting from zero. How do I build up a
Yeah.
network of those sort of
Hmm.
people? Ne? Secondly, how do I know emotionally when I need to call on these people? Because it's about measuring when is the right time, when is not the right time. I want
Hmm.
to touch on those two things for now.
So I think that's actually, I've never thought about that. That's a very good question. I
Yeah,
think that one of the toughest things that people don't know how to do when they make connections, they
yeah,
think that, and this is what this is what I dislike about the whole idea of networking sessions. I cannot stand them. I hate them. And because what usually happens is that um, it's a bunch of people. Can hear me?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
just turned up the commenting because I want to see your,
Oh,
your your whole
okay.
face.
Oh, okay. So I think that a whole bunch of people with business cards coming to tell me this idea, I've got this idea, and no one is trying to make a real meaningful connection. And I think for me, this is
Yeah,
how I've been able to have the kinds of friends that I have and the connections that I have is because my primary reason for engaging with anybody and meeting with anybody is because I actually
yeah,
want to truly engage with this person and get to know
yeah,
what it is they want to talk about at that time. And
yeah,
it's not about getting something from them. It's about me trying to understand you more and understand you better.
yeah.
And I think that for me is the best way to make any meaningful connection with anybody. And
Sure,
once
sure.
that lack of sincerity is not there, nobody's going to want to connect. And also, if
Good.
you start trying to make connections with people because of what they have and not because of who they are, that is also when it really becomes hard for a lot of people to find people who
Yeah.
really have their back.
Um,
Mm.
the one thing that I must commend you for, yeah, and also I'm saying this as Ikhrotmani, I'm funny enough, that a lot of older men or men, we tend to want to hide behind the strength of our strength of whatever, like whatever facade that we say we're strong right now. I'm going through this right now. You've been very, very open about how you're feeling, about how everything that's happened in your life in the last month or so. Um, and I know how much that must have taken of you to do so. Um, I'm trying to understand what made you do that. Did it give you a sense of therapy to a degree? Because I know what a huge step that must have been for you to do that.
Mm. That's a very good question because I had a such a difficult time deciding if I should talk about it at all because
Yeah,
it's my brother
yeah,
and especially because it was suicide. So and also because you can't help at times feel responsible because this person lived with
mm,
you and
Yeah.
I left him. I had to kick him out of my house,
Yeah.
give him money because I was kicking him out of because of the gambling habit that he developed, because I felt I couldn't trust him around my place anymore. And so what, and so because I left on Thursday, and then on the next day he passed away. So there's a tremendous level of guilt. So,
Yeah.
and where you're like, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
But we also know at the same time, there's nothing I could have done. I should not have this God complex where I'm thinking that if I had done this, I could have
Yes.
saved him.
Yeah.
But logically, there's an understanding that's the case, but emotionally, it's all difficult to accept. So the mind and the emotions are not meeting yet. So the
Yeah.
mind knows that, okay, that was not could have done, but the emotions are like, well, really, are you sure? So
Yeah.
what I'm constantly trying to do is constantly trying to make sure that the emotions and the mind
Yeah.
get to the same level where
Yeah.
I can be absolutely completely okay. So you're right, it was not easy for me to do. And the
Yeah.
reason I felt it was important for me to talk about it is because I felt that a lot of people have a lot of struggles that are very similar.
As someone who's gone through so much, né, someone who continues to go through so much, for me, the thing that always fascinates me about you is that you always show up as the same person. You always show up as yourself. I want to talk about a little bit like the concept of showing up as who you are to every environment, you know, and
Mm.
how sometimes I think our inferiority complex holds us back from being who we are. I also want to talk about that idea under the same context of right now, you go on social media, everybody's live right now.
I
You
know
know,
everybody's
everyone
alive.
is, yeah.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like
Yeah.
I was saying yesterday to Farah, it's like DSTV. Like you switch on, there's 400 channels that you could watch at any time. You know, and
Mm.
people are gonna have to stand out. And one of the ideas that she brought up yesterday was around the concept of the way that you're gonna stand out is always is about being yourself. You
She's
know,
right.
and now everyone has no choice but to be themselves. But there's gonna be so much going on. So
Yes.
one, how do you show up as yourself in every scenario, even the tough ones? And how are you gonna now that life is forcing us to show up as ourselves? How do you stand out as well?
That is such a tough question.
I
You,
agree.
you know that is no, yeah, and it's a very good point.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, I think what social media has done is that it's taught a lot of people to be curated versions of themselves. So,
mm.
so a person becomes a version of themselves as opposed to be like,
Yeah,
okay, this is actually the person that
all of
I'm
me.
showing.
Yeah,
Yes, this is all of me. I think someone who looked at my, and I didn't know someone who looked at my Instagram like years ago, and they're like,
yeah,
I wonder if I were to look at your Instagram like this, what kind of person I'd say you are if I didn't know you. And I was like, that is
yeah.
such an interesting kind of perspective.
I want to round up this idea of showing up as who you are in every single scenario. You know, um, I'm sure you've had situations as well now, even in your evolution, where you've gone, you know what, this, as much as I want to show up as myself, is going to require a different me.
Hmm.
Are
Hmm.
you ever in
Yeah.
those situations? Because yeah,
No, I think, I think a person has different aspects of who they are. Like,
yeah,
no person is one thing. And
yeah,
so because there are parts that you dial up of yourself in
yeah,
different situations. If you are the funny guy, right? Uh, you can't go up there and be the funny guy in the most inappropriate situation. But
yeah,
sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, like, you can't be the funny guy one umfundise shumayela. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
During a funeral service,
yeah,
and say something like, unless it is appropriate at that moment.
yeah.
So it is understanding when to dial up a certain part of you.
I'm learning quite a lot as always, from you. And I think that the concept that you're touching on now is very much rounded around emotional intelligence, you know.
That's such a good,
For a
that's a good
person
word.
who's yeah, for a person who's joining us right now, like you might have like caught the middle of the conversation, but we're obviously chatting through some life experiences in terms of how to get through. I don't know. At this point, I don't want to call it the next 21 days because you don't know what's going to happen next, but it feels like we're in a movie. And
Yeah.
the one thing that I truly enjoyed learning and what we're trying to share on this platform is learning through other people's stories, you know. I really hate the step-by-step asking of questions, but there's a couple of things that I've picked up already just to recap for people. Like we said earlier on, we are talking about the concept of showing up as who you really are. We've dealt a little bit about on dealing with tough times and just understanding that the purpose of that moment, your own purpose as well. We're touching on emotional intelligence right now. We're going to take you guys questions in a bit. I've got a questions tab under there, so you can just drop us the questions. We'll go into those in the last 15 minutes of the chat. But the one thing, hopping on indaba emotional intelligence, which really, really, really always fascinates me, you know. A lot of people now, with us trying to get through the lockdown, like I mentioned earlier on, it's going to be a restart of a lot of things. A lot of things are going to change in society. A lot of people are going to be wanting to advance themselves not only as entrepreneurs, but something that you've done really, really well is become a career entrepreneur. Before we delve into that, I want to also understand, was that because it's not like you don't have entrepreneur friends around you to help you start your own thing. You know, you could make tons of money doing your own thing, but you made a concerted choice to work with some of the coolest brands in the world. I want to understand why that choice.
Because I'm a coward.
I set you up so well in it.
No, but honestly, and do you know why? Okay, the aptitude to start up our own thing and and just go for it and all of that, but also bearing in mind that in order to actually start a very successful a business that succeeds, I mean, I read an incredible study that said that something like 72%, something about the 72%, about 80% of the businesses that succeed, that like entrepreneurs that succeed, it's because they have a cushion, right?
Yeah.
So they have something like they have a very rich uncle, they have a very rich father, they have so even if they fail, it's going to be okay. They can bounce back, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
I wish I had.
So if you come from a poorer background, in order for you to build something really big and amazing and grand for yourself, it is that much more difficult.
These are very serious matters, you know. You are known as the Bay of the people. You know, we see your MCM posts, you know.
To myself.
It was a very serious question you're asking. At some point, are you someone who, because you it's something that you document as well about your single life right now. Is this something like after the quarantine, after they open the doors? Is the first thing that you're doing is getting yourself someone? What's happening there?
No, I'm still single. So I'm not, like I feel that I never into like a thing. I think it's rushing into a relationship is often a mistake. And I'm also the kind of person who moves into a relationship really slowly.
I really appreciate like every time that you share, you're someone who shares from the soul, you know, and I really, really appreciate that. I really appreciate the fact that you've given us more time than you're supposed to give us. And as my last question to you, and just a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in as well. You quote from the Bible a lot. Yeah? And it's probably one of my favorite things about you as a human being, because in the Yazba, whatever it is that whenever you've offered me advice, whenever you offer someone else advice, or where you're trying to counsel yourself, is that it's rooted in something true and something wholesome, you know, and I really appreciate that about you. But I want to flip the script on you a bit, because everyone who's tuned in now knows that, one, You are an amazing writer. You are someone who loves literature. You've got some of your own books out right now. Ne?
Mm-hmm.
So, as a parting shot, I want you to quote a line from one of your books as a way
Wow. Oh
um,
my God. I don't
to
know. That
motivate
is
us, or something, or a story in one of your books, or something that we can reference from one of your books as a source of strength during this time.
okay. I think I have a line. There's a line
Yeah.
from one of my books, which is even, and for me, it's like even in my darkest hour,
Mm,
I glow in the dark.
mm,
And I think that is, and I think that is very true for this time. That
yeah.
is really dark. That you should, in the darkness, try to like you must the light that is in you. It must shine. You can't let it also die down because
Yeah.
it's in the dark. It's the responsibility is almost on you, and that's how I feel
Mm,
it. But of course, the other one, which is seems to be a favorite whenever I speak, to people, which is I may not be qualified to do anything, but I
yeah.
will not disqualify myself from doing anything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I think for me that is also a driving force in my life because none of the things that I do I'm qualified to do. So,
Yeah.
so it's because I did not say, wow, I will not go for that thing because I don't have the qualifications.
I've
But
got you.
but the qualifications not the physical qualifications. The qualifications, the hard work, the curiosity, the
Yeah.
drive to be the best possible person who can do that job at any given
Yes.
moment. Not
Yes.
because a piece of paper, not because a piece of paper says you can do it. And for
Yeah.
me, yeah, I have no business writing books. I have no
But
business writing books.
but we're buying them and they're bestsellers.
Yeah,
Would you,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Diabulela, I think
yeah.
especially with everyone else that's tuned in right now, the comments are flying, and I think with the lives that we've been trying to have, this is probably the most in terms of comments that are flying during the conversation, because every time like you share, like it's definitely from the soul. I thank you for availing yourself. Whenever I try these crazy ideas of mine, you're always like, yeah, ready, let's go. So I really appreciate that. I'm also very mindful of the time you're going through right now, because a lot of people, like, I think we're having to face a lot of the things that we've been putting off. And right now, Njubu uhleli wedwa, and you are going through everything, and you're having to reconcile everything that you've gone through over the last month, and give the time to us over the last 90 minutes. I think all of us sitting at home now, really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for the. I always love, engaging in your platforms. They are
Yeah.
truly incredible. You're doing amazing things, and I can't wait until we're out of the lockdown and see the other great things that you're going to do.
No,
Thank you.
thank you.